Heidi Hautala, Vice President of the European Parliament, you are most welcome. And if you are ready to make your remarks, then you are most welcome and invited to do it. Once again, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, dear Hans-Gert, dear President of the Association of Former Members. I see many dear former colleagues, including some of my committee chairs here in the audience. And as I was asked to try to set a little bit the scene for the European Parliament in the global context and make some remarks in particular on the role of and cooperation of the European Parliament with national parliaments. I'll try to do that. But since we are on the eve of a very important national election day, the 12th of December tomorrow, in the parliamentary elections in the UK, let me make the remark that I think has some truth, is that if the British Parliament, the cradle of all parliaments, the House of Commons, would have similar powers of scrutiny in legislation on the EU as the best national parliaments, I would like to state that perhaps the whole Brexit saga could have been prevented. Why I say this is that in those member states where the national parliaments are genuinely scrutinizing their own governments, they are very much close to the heart of the EU decision making. And when our President David Maria Sassoli went to the Council presidency country, Finland, this autumn, he came back and he praised the model of the Finnish scrutiny system. And I can assure that it is a good one, because I've been on all sides of the game, government, national parliament and the European Parliament. And it is truly unique that every member of the national parliament, through engagement in the specialized committees, whether it's industry or agriculture or economy, are drafting the positions of the Finnish parliament. And it's only that the Grand Committee, which is the kind of a central post office, let me put it this way, with due respect, often says that we adhere ourselves to the position of the specialized committee. So indeed, every member of the national parliament is an EU legislator. And I would like to see that all national parliaments of the European Union would have the similar kind of scrutiny, because it also means that decisions are taken home from Brussels. It's much more difficult to say that all those bad decisions is because of Brussels is proposing this and that. No, it's a system where each elected politician has a role to play. Now, of course, the European Parliament is a very special parliament, and I'm extremely proud, and I know that you are proud as well, having performed a function of the first truly supranational parliament of the world. And it's a unique achievement that we must defend. And at this moment, if we look at the global context, I think we can see that the rules-based multilateral global order is in a crisis. Just yesterday was the day when the WTO was scarcely saved, because there was an agreement on the budget of this organization. But nevertheless, the WTO is dysfunctional because the United States has refused to agree on any nominations to its appellate body. So there are no judges to rule, and that's not a rules-based system then. So the EU is in a unique position because it is still the biggest internal market in the world. With its unique supranational democracy, it has to look for active partnerships in other countries and regions which do the same and defend their values, which are based on international law. So I would like to refer to what Ursula von der Leyen said very recently. She spoke to the European Parliament and she said that partnerships are something that we need to strengthen, and partnerships can only make us stronger, and I very much agree with her. Today is obviously the day when she will come to the European Parliament and she will present the long-awaited Green Deal, the plan on how to transform our societies and economies so that we can defend our lifestyle, that it will be truly sustainable, and that we will create the well-being and welfare with a fraction of the footprint on global environment and climate. Now, I hope that it is truly ambitious, because this is really something that deserves to be spoken of as a transformation. It must be a systemic change. It's not that we do some incremental improvements, a couple of directives more. No, it must be something deeper than that. And I think the EU is in a position, again, to show the way for the rest of the world what should actually happen. So we will now be entering into an important year when the Conference of the Future of the EU will be established. And the European Parliament has already discussed this, especially in the Committee on Constitutional Affairs. And I see that the Parliament is going to be very united in what actually needs to be achieved. We believe that the European Parliament also could take a lead in this Conference of the Future of Europe, which was enshrined in the programme of the new Commission and the platform of Ursula von der Leyen. The question is now that how can we prove as Parliament to the Member States, to the national parliaments, I hope as well, with the support of the civil society and other stakeholders, that there are some stumbling blocks in our decision-making system which prevent the European Union from responding to global challenges. And I'm talking about the unanimity principle, which prevents the EU from taking any meaningful decision on taxation. And I'm not talking about the details of personal taxation, which still, of course, has to be the competence of the member states. But I'm talking about corporate taxation, carbon taxes, possibly other taxes that are needed in order to curb our unsustainable consumption patterns and also the production patterns. Also in foreign policy, and I'm pretty sure that Elmar Brok will speak more about that, is that the principle of the unanimity between the member states is really something that prevents the European Union at this critical time to take its proper place in the world and in the multilateral system as a defender of it. So a lot is at stake, and I'm sure that all of you will take an active and great interest in following what this Conference of the Future of the European Union will produce. The Parliament does not want to exclude the possibility of proposing treaty changes, but there's certainly a lot that can be done already in the actual framework. A special attention will be given to the legitimacy, the transparency of decision-making, also the fact that Ursula von der Leyen also has lent her support to strengthening the transnational lists, and the Spitzenkandidat system is something that the European Parliament will certainly be very much working for. So 2024 will be an election when possibly... Elmar, you have a comment?
Look,
yeah.
The Spitzenkandidaten concept is part of the Treaty of Lisbon.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with transnationalists. You can be for transnationalists, yes or no, but it has nothing to do with Spitzenkandidaten. It should be very clear.
Okay, you have the chance.
Okay, so coming to a close, I believe that the European Parliament also has to take even a more active approach to working with the national parliaments, because otherwise I think even this Conference of the Future of Europe will not reach what it needs to achieve. So I'm very thankful for the second time already to be able to speak to you, and it's always a pleasure to meet you. And dear Hans-Gert, thanks for inviting me.